Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something pretty wild, the most powerful yet entirely invisible space that exists. Yep, your own mind. We're talking about the architecture of thought. For those of us who love figuring out how reality actually works, it's kind of like a giant puzzle. Every massive skyscraper starts with a hidden foundation, right? Well, our internal monologue is exactly that. It's this immense, cascading force just playing on a loop in the background, all day, every day. Literally every waking moment, we're laying invisible bricks in our mind, building the reality we end up living in. So let's jump right in and look at the actual blueprint of how this internal narrative shapes our external world, starting with the tiniest possible piece. And that brings us to a pretty profound question right off the bat. How much power does a single thought hold? Honestly, we tend to just brush off our passing thoughts, right? Like they're just harmless little clouds floating through our head. But what if we've got that completely backwards? What if this invisible mind of ours is actually the active, hands-on architect of our very visible reality? I mean, notice we're talking about a single thought here, not some huge complicated philosophy or years of deep study. We're putting a microscope on just one solitary idea that flashes across your brain. Because as you'll see, we're going to track the exact path of that single thought and watch it grow from just a tiny spark into an absolute physical force. So here's where that journey kicks us. One small thought can change your whole day. Let's just pause and think about the mechanics of that for a second. You wake up, maybe a quick thought of frustration pops up, or hey, maybe it's a thought of immense gratitude. Whatever it is, that one microscopic idea instantly starts bossing around your physical momentum. It changes how you say good morning to your family, it literally shifts your posture during your commute, and it completely alters how you handle your coworkers. The whole 24-hour period you're about to walk into is colored, directed, and completely changed by that initial tiny thought. It's like the first domino that knocks down every single thing you experience until your head hits the pillow again. But wait, it doesn't stop at just one day. Look at how this escalates. One small thought can change your whole life. This just perfectly captures the massive scale of what we're actually dealing with here. By repeating that phrase, it forces us to zoom way, way out. Because if a single thought can dictate the momentum of 24 hours, what on earth happens when those 24 hours stack up into weeks and months and decades? Suddenly, that microscopic impact is a macroscopic reality. Just one thought of inspiration could be the actual catalyst that makes you quit your job, move across the country, or talk to a stranger who ends up becoming your life partner. The scale expands exponentially, but the starting point, deceptively, incredibly small. Okay, so what does this actually look like in the physical world? Well, it's a pretty brutal, absolute binary. If you think you can't, you stop. It's literally a negative thought paralyzing your physical body. It kills your potential before you even try to make a move. But on the flip side, if you think you can, you start. A positive, capable thought creates this undeniable forward momentum. See, the thought always comes before the action. You don't stop or start because there's some physical wall in front of you. You stop or start entirely because of the invisible command your brain just sent to your muscles. Your mindset is the absolute gatekeeper to whether you move forward in the real world or stay stuck. Let's just pause right here and really absorb how this works. Everything begins in the mind, before it becomes real. I mean, literally look around you right now. The screen you're staring at, the chair you're sitting in, the building you're in right now. Before any of those things existed in the physical world, they were just an invisible origin in somebody's head. The mind is the ultimate drafting room. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, skips this step. It has to be a thought before it can ever be a thing. No way around it. And this turns into a literal, step-by-step procedure for human behavior. A thought becomes a habit becomes a life. This isn't just some nice motivational poetry, right? It's an actual instruction manual for how an isolated idea solidifies into a permanent reality. Think about it. You have a thought, you act on it. You do that enough times, and bam, it transforms from a fleeting moment into a hardwired habit. And once something becomes a habit, it runs on autopilot. So your life, really, is just the sum total of all these compounded steps. The architecture of your entire existence is built block by block, starting from that very first invisible origin. Which actually brings us to a really vital redefinition of a word we toss around all the time. What exactly is a habit? Well, in this context, a habit is simply the repetition of a single thought until it shapes a life. I want you to just sit with that for a second. The stuff you do every single day, whether it's pushing you forward or holding you back, those actions are just the physical echoes of the thoughts you've chosen to dwell on over and over again. The thought is the root, the habit is just the tree growing out of it.
And if you want to change the tree, you can't just go around hacking at the branches. You have to dig all the way down to that invisible root.
And honestly, that realization leads directly to a massive wake-up call. So choose your thought carefully, because this whole process, it's automatic. Because a thought inevitably becomes a habit, and a habit inevitably becomes a life, you simply cannot afford to just be a passenger in your own brain. You've got to take back the wheel. You have to become hyper-aware of your internal dialogue. Remember that drafting room we talked about? You are the curator of it. If an architect draws up a flawed blueprint, they don't go ahead and build the house anyway. In the exact same way, if a thought is toxic or destructive, you have to consciously say, nope, not dwelling on that. You have to actively curate what gets to take root. So I'm going to challenge you right now to look inward for a second. Run a quick audit on your own mind. What are you repeating? Seriously, what's that background noise playing on a loop when you're driving or taking a shower or just lying in bed trying to sleep? Is it a loop of I can't, which, as we know, leads to stop? Or is it a loop of I can, which leads to start? Whatever it is you're repeating right now, you are actively building it into a habit, which means you are actively building it into your life. Figuring out exactly what's on that repeating loop, that is step one to taking back control. And that brings us to this incredibly profound truth. Because what you repeat, you become. Just let the weight of that sink in for a minute. Your human identity is just the culmination of repeated thoughts. You aren't some static, unchangeable thing. You're a fluid outcome of your own repetitions. If you repeat thoughts of resilience, guess what? You become resilient. If you constantly repeat thoughts of defeat, you become defeated. It's a completely fair, totally uncompromising system. The universe inside your mind gives you exactly what you continuously ask for through that repetition. So as we wrap up this explainer, we really come full circle, back to the premise we started with, but hopefully now with a much deeper appreciation for what it really means. One small thought can change everything. It changes the day, which changes the life, which dictates the start, which prevents the stop, the whole shebang. That singular invisible spark literally holds the ultimate power to rewrite your entire reality. It's hands down the most powerful tool you have. It costs absolutely nothing to use, but it costs you everything if you ignore it. I want to leave you with this final question to chew on. Since what you repeat, you become, what thought will you choose next? Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, literally the second after this explainer ends. You are the architect here. The drafting room is wide open. You have the power to stop or the power to start. What you build next is 100% up to you. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this deep dive empowers you to go out and master your own mind.